Hello, I'm Richard Verkley and welcome to businessandfranchiseopportunity.com. The following videos in this series cover the questions you need to ask in order to make an informed and wise purchasing decision on the type of franchise or business opportunity that is right for you. Now to the questions.
Okay, welcome back to the video series on the top questions people have been asking in terms of, how do I purchase a franchise? What are the things I need to look out for? And this next question comes from Greg. His question is, what sort of professional advice should I get, when it comes to looking at a franchise? And so this is a great question, and there's a lot of standards. And by that I mean the standard is you need a lawyer and you need an accountant in order to make a decision and look at a franchise. But what I really want to do is broaden this out for you, because actually there's some better choices. So, let's talk about those. So, first and foremost, you have to ask yourself, what is it you want to know? and when do you want to know it? And at what point do you actually want to seek additional advice? So, here's my first, piece of advice here is, don't do this too early. And by that I mean, don't go get yourself a lawyer and an accountant, until you've gotten quite a distance in terms of researching what it is and what franchise that you're interested in. So, let me kind of expand on that. When you're looking for a franchise, what normally happens is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of due diligence. It takes a lot of information gathering until you kind of get to the one that you really like. So once you get to the one that you really like, at what point do you start bringing in the experts? Well, what I want to do first is add an additional expert to the list. And that additional expert can kind of come in a number of different forms. It can come in the form of a franchise broker, and this is somebody who has been dealing with multiple franchises, or it can come in the form of what I call a friendly entrepreneur. And that is somebody you already know who's already in business for themselves. And it doesn't have to be the same industry, and it doesn't even have to be the same city or town, but it could be a family member, it could be a great friend, but somebody who's been in business and built a business sort of from the ground up. Because trust me, they will ask intelligent questions. They will ask questions that you can't think to ask because you really haven't been in their shoes. And those are the sorts of questions that really are going to pay big dividends for you later on when sort of making your decision. So I'd like you to get them involved kind of early on. Give them your ideas, give them your thoughts, tell them what you're looking for. Tell them the sort of things that you want to have involved in that business, the kind of hours you want to work, what it's actually going to take. Somebody who's built a business from scratch realizes it takes a lot of dedication, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of learning. And they're going to say things to you that, you can't possibly imagine they're going to say. And they're going to be things like, get your head out of the clouds. I know this is exciting, and I know you think you'll be the, best franchise operator there's ever been over here, but let's kind of look at the facts. Let's look at what it's going to take. And they'll bring sort of a selective eye, but they'll make a great sounding board as you go through the process. So that's the first thing I would suggest, is you add another person to the team here. Now, as you go through the process, you find the ones you're interested in. What you want to do is kind of take this as far as you can prior to bringing on the other professionals. And we're going to talk about why here. So let's say you found the franchise you actually have interest in, and now you're starting to talk to them seriously. How far do you go before you bring in the experts? Well, you go as far as you possibly can, and my suggestion would be go as far as you can up until the point where you've now made the business deal. And the business deal consists of this. I'm interested in buying this franchise, I'm interested in this territory, I'm prepared to pay this price, I'm also prepared to pay over this period of time, and you have agreement on virtually everything, always with the caveat that you now need to take this to your lawyer. And so, big piece of advice here, you don't want your lawyer to do the business deal. What you want your lawyer to do is to make sure you're doing the business deal right, and that the language is correct, and the things that you have agreed upon are reflected in the written contract. So once you've kind of come to all this agreement, you want to make sure it's just clearly put down on paper. Now, next piece of advice here before you bring on your lawyer is you want to make sure it's a franchise lawyer. I cannot tell you how many times that I've ended up dealing with somebody who took on a lawyer that has no franchising background or experience. And what happens is the penalty's on you. instead of having a $2,000 legal bill, you're going to have a $5,000 or a $10,000 legal bill, because you are going to be educating this lawyer about what is franchising, how does franchising work, what are the rules. And some of the early signs, I could certainly tell when talking to the other side was, we'd have a lawyer making a suggestion that, hey, you should negotiate your franchise fee, or you should negotiate the royalty. Well, if you can imagine, one of the things about joining a franchise, and one of the big reasons, is uniformity. Can you imagine going to an annual conference where there's 200 units of franchises that are open, and all of a sudden, some guy's having lunch and he says he paid $20,000 less than you? This would be a significant problem for the franchise. So I can tell you right now, you're not going to offer different franchise fees to different people. They're always going to be the same. Now, over time, they're going to go up. So if you bought 2 years ago, you may have paid $40,000. The guy who buys after the system gets larger and has made more impact in the market and is more successful, that person may pay $60,000. But the person who bought that year is also going to pay $60,000. So you can't have different rates, and you certainly can't have different royalties unless that same thing occurred again, that the guys on the earlier contracts are paying $5,000, the guys on the later contracts are paying $6,000. So these are really not negotiable items. And if a franchise or a lawyer who purports to be a franchise lawyer asks you to negotiate those things, it'll tell you right now he really doesn't understand franchising. So very important to get a franchise lawyer. But more important to remember is you need to direct his activities, because ultimately, his job is to really do what it is you want him to do, and for him to pick out, the areas where there's potential difficulties or problems, and to warn you, of this piece of the business deal that you did and the ramifications of that. And then you get to decide whether you're prepared to put up with, what those particular risks may be in those clauses.
Hello, this is Richard Berkeley. I'd like to thank you for watching my videos. If you're interested in purchasing a franchise and looking for additional information to help you make an informed purchasing decision, I'd like you to come to my website at www.businessandfranchiseopportunity.com. Thank you.